Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. For those of you who are familiar with George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984, you remember over there that it was a theme about children reporting their parents to the authorities for doing something illegal, and the children were praised for that. The same thing happened a few times in some communist countries, including Soviet Union. I know they made some stories here that some children were, I don't know, glorified for denouncing their parents doing something illegal or against the Soviet state. Now keep this in mind, because I'm going to read this article. Comes from New Zealand, and I will end up with the same idea of how children denounced or report their parents. Okay, let's get going. All right, so what do we have here? We have here an article from Sputnik, and it is from today, the 26th of October 2022. New Zealand to consider renaming the country to Aotearoa. I was not aware this was a thing. I think that's the way it was called before by the indigenous population. Aotearoa, as 70,000 signed petition reports say. Okay, so New Zealand's Maori Affairs Select Committee will consider a petition to officially change the country's name to Aotearoa and submit the proposal for discussion in Parliament, media reported on Wednesday. And I'm quoting, 70,000 signatures in record time agree. Maori Party co-chair Debbie Ngerwa Packer told the newspaper. Now, Ngerawa, that's her name. I'm guessing it's right, Debbie. I will say Debbie, okay, because it's Ngerewa Packer, said she was, quote-unquote, extremely optimistic about the next stage of the petition, according to the newspaper. Even though New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, a communist, I gotta tell you that she surpasses the other communist, Trudeau of Canada, by a long stretch. Oh my God, did not explicitly express support for the initiative. In August, she reportedly said that she used both names as synonyms. Did you hear that? Now, remember how I started this video? Well, she's one of those children. Remember, and I'm quoting, whether or not we change it in law, I do not think changes the fact New Zealanders do increasingly refer to Aotearoa, and I think that is a transition that has been welcomed. Ardern was quoted as saying by the New Zealand Herald, so she's okay with that. She added that Maori language was recognized as official in the countries along with English. Maori make up to 15% of the population. However, only 3% of the New Zealanders can speak the Maori language. But you make it legal. Okay, you make it, or you recognize as official language. Okay, be nice. I'll be nice and see how you end up like Haiti. You don't know what I'm talking about? Okay. Aotearoa means, and I'm quoting, the long white cloud, which the ancestors of the Maori saw over the island of New Zealand, crossing the ocean in 8 large canoe boats about 8 centuries ago. In September 2021, the New Zealand's indigenous political Maori party started collecting signatures in support of a petition that seeks to change the country's official name to the Polynesian Aotearoa, and to restore the Maori names for all towns, cities and places by 2026, according to the New Zealand Herald newspaper. 70,000 people have now signed the petition, which is a sufficient number for it to be considered by the New Zealand Parliament. Okay, I will be bad first, okay? I will be very bad first. History goes like this. The strong wins, the weak loses. All right? When you go to get a job, you start as a entry level. You're weak. And someone is strong. And you as a weak, do whatever the strong tells you to do. And then when you get promoted, you cut other people's legs, push other people out and so on, you maybe go up and you're gonna be the one with strength, okay, and power. Now, this happened, and that's how we are. Tribes kill tribes, children kill parents, and foreigners take over natives and so on. So, or however we want to call them, settlers or invaders, or who has the power. Now look at New Zealand. New Zealand was conquered by force, I'm assuming, right, by some Anglo-Saxons, right? And they created New Zealand as we know, a country that is in the first world country, right? I think it's becoming communist, but it's a different story. So that's a very civilized standard of living. It's high. Okay. Now, that's the country of New Zealand created by the settlers, the Anglo-Saxons, and whomever came over there, right? Now, that's the country. Like United States. United States was not the country of the Indian Americans. The country is a country and the land is a different story here. So the same as over there, they took over and they formed a country. Unfortunately or fortunately, they are only 15% of the natives. They are still there. Good for them. Good for them. Now, it seems like this 15%, that's only 3% speak that language, they want to change the country that was formed by another group's ancestors, parents. So that means that these guys from a group who are not the dominant group. The dominant group is the other one, right? The New Zealanders, the Anglo-Saxon stock, the ones whose ancestors built the country and they created New Zealand. By the way, you don't have to agree with me, and I don't impose this on anyone, but that's the way world works. So these guys created this country, first class, and these guys wanted, none-wanted, were part of it. Now these guys all of a sudden seem to want to change this into something they like. They're 15%. Let's talk about morality. If it's about morality, these old guys should go somewhere else, and these guys should pack their shit and their canoes and go back where they came from. Okay, so if you talk about who's who and what's what and who has the who's first and who's second, you go back with your canoes, you go back with your ships wherever you came from. Is that how it works? Because if we're gonna apply that rule, we're gonna have a big mess on this one. Not on the ocean, but on everywhere here. Okay, we're gonna have a big problem. So because almost each and every nation came from somewhere. So we're going to send, let's say, the Hungarians back to Mongolian steppes or whatever. We're going to send all the Slavs back to the Caucasians over there. Who are we going to keep in Europe, for instance? Who? Are we going to send the Arabs where? I mean, where are we going to send the Japanese? Supposedly they came from across the... No, what are they going to do with everyone? So that's out of a question. That argument is stupid. So the things are as they are. The problem is that these guys created the country, and this minority group wants to change the country. Now, why would the majority want to change their country? These guys' has countries too, but it seems like they don't feel comfortable with that. They feel comfortable with something else. Why should this want that? If these don't want that, why should these guys want that? Based on what? As of now, I think this is better than that. Why? Because if you go back in history, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? What exactly are you trying to build here? You want to change names? But that's my culture. That's my culture, and this is your culture. You want to impose your culture on me, but I'm a dominant group if you want to take it, if you don't feel whatever, New Zealander. However, you want me to, and I'm going to the beginning of this video, to report my parents. Do you want to kick my parents, my ancestors in the balls for you and your ancestors? Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to do that? Because you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to bring back your ancestors, your culture. But I should not. They should not. And the Anglo-Saxon stock, let's put it. Why would they want to do that? Why should they just, report and destroy their ancestors who created it, who built that country? You want to impose something on these guys, and these guys cannot impose anything on you. Because why? And then we got the argument. Because we were here first. Well, you came from somewhere. Take your shit and leave. And we're going to take our shit and leave. And see how we're going to reshuffle everything. So that's not an argument. Okay? Don't fall for it. So I think that these guys and these guys can obviously intertwine and link together. I don't like when some people try to impose, especially when this country was formed by these guys, for these guys. These guys, I don't think were ever fully integrated like they did. I'm not saying that's a good thing whatsoever, like they did with Aborigines in Australia, or here with the native, the Indian Americans, these guys. And when they tried to forcefully integrate them, now we have a big problem because that was full of abuse and full of this, and they should have wait, we want to let them in the tent with the fire and the dog and their slaves? Because they had slaves too. Okay? That's where you want to go? I mean, really, what are we going to do? But my point is, this group wants that group, the dominant group, to change its ways and kick their parents in the balls for these guys' parents. No. No. So if your president, Naladunda Kamadunga Bibalanga, she sees that, that's fine. If you guys want to change the name, that's fine. But just think of the name where it came from your ancestors. And you want to change it for these guys' ancestors? Why? Morality? Is that what you're talking about? Well, that name was put by this group's parents, ancestors, that came from somewhere too. That was not their land. They just took over with the canoes, remember? So, all right. I'm a little bit sick of this kind of argument that I see floating around here in the United States as well, changing things. The Americans here kept a lot of names, a lot of things that, from the native. I call them native, but I don't consider them native because they came from somewhere. So if you came from somewhere, you're not a native, that's for sure. And if they were born here, well, my children are born here too, so that means they're native as well. I mean, get the dictionary. I don't have to beat around the bushes, but anyway. So it's just, I thought it was very weasel-like. And this little, we just want to do it like this, want to do like this, and then do what, and then do what, and then do what. Then do what? Don't bend, don't bend. This is the country your ancestors built, and your parents, grandparents, and all that. If they want to fit in, they want to fit in. If they don't want to fit in, what are you going to do? Break the country? That means stepping on your grandparents and great-grandparents' graves. Why would you do that? For his grandparents? Why wouldn't he do that? Why only you are asked to do that, but they are not? Oh, you did it so many years. Well, didn't I start with who stronger wins? Do you think that these guys were all peaceful, all cool and nice and sharing and that utopic lifestyle that we're taught here in these stupid communist universities that are here? Left-leaning? No, that's for children. No. When the settlers came here in this country, these guys were not living in peace. They were not living in peace. They were exterminating whomever they could. Okay? And by the way, we don't really know that, but it's only verbal because they had no writing, if I remember correctly, did they? Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.